So yesterday, I did the tier list ranking the free agent hitters that were on the market, and I left a couple guys off. Apologies, didn't make the tier list, but I left them in the comment section. So if there's anybody that is left off of today's video that you thought should have been on here that's worth talking about, it'll be in the comments down below. But we've got the pitchers to go over today. There's about, I think like 30 pitchers that have been listed on here. S all the way down to D. You know how tier lists work from now on. I mean, I've done so many on the channel already. You guys are veterans. I'm a veteran. I love tier lists over here. So I'm going to continue to do it, ranking the free agent pitchers. As always, if you guys do enjoy the videos on this channel, make sure to drop a like. That's a great way to support the channel. Subscribe if you're new and you enjoy the content. Click that sub button, join the team. Get in the comment section down below. Let me know who you think is the best available pitcher free agent not named Trevor Bauer. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and the second channel. Links are always in the description down below to all my social media, as well as the link to the tier list. And again, shout out to Yang Pinstripes for making this tier list for me. So the first person on this list is Adam Wainwright. And Adam Wainwright had a decent year actually in 2020. He's a pretty good pitcher, but in terms of like where he's going to sign, and I'm pretty sure he's just going to stay with St. Louis or he's going to retire, I think Adam Wainwright goes into the C tier. He's just a middle of the line pitcher right now. Back end guy, can give you some innings. He's a veteran. He's a leader. Alex Coleman is really good. He's super underrated. I think Alex Coleman goes into the A tier. Look at his numbers from his career. For his like 8 seasons, he has an ERA under 3. He had an ERA under 1 last season. I mean, all he does is go out there and get outs. He doesn't strike out a ton of batters. He has a bit of a human rain delay, but he gets production. He gets the job done. Alex Coleman is one of the more underrated free agents on the market. Definitely A tier. Anibal Sanchez, I think, is going to go into, I think we'll put him in C tier right now. I don't think he's absolutely horrible. I just don't think he's very good anymore. He had that 1 year with Washington where they won the World Series, but otherwise, he's kind of been non-existent. So Anibal Sanchez, C tier. Brad Hand, I would go as far to say Brad Hand might be S tier. He also could be A, but I think we were talking about left-handed relievers in the game of baseball. Brad Hand is one of the top guys, and the fact that the Indians didn't want to pay him $10 million for next year is absolutely crazy. They're trying to shave as much money off the payroll as possible. Clearly, a lot of teams are going to be calling after Brad Hand. He's filthy from the left-hand side. Rad Peacock, C. There's just not a whole lot to talk about. Like, you get him in the right place. He has some good stuff, but he just hasn't ever really performed at a high level enough to be anything above C. Brandon Workman. I actually think Brandon Workman's okay. He had some good years with the Red Sox. He then went to the Phillies and was absolutely horrible, but that's not like, I think, the kind of pitcher that he is. He was good with the Red Sox. He's had some lights out years. I think teams will give him another shot for sure. The few games he played with the Phillies is not going to dictate his career. He's still a pretty decent reliever. B tier. Freddie Anderson's also going to go in C tier. Like, there's going to be a lot of C tier pitchers. A lot of what's available on the market right now in a C tier, and honestly, at the end, I might end up changing this a little bit because it's going to be pretty populated, but Freddie Anderson, C. I mean, he's a lefty. He's going to get you 5 innings a game and a 4 ERA. That's pretty average. Charlie Morton, as much as I want to put him in S tier, we did see him take a little bit of a step back last year, so I'll put him in A. He's still a very good starting pitcher. One of the top probably like 25, 30 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. That being said, I don't really know what his market's going to be like out there. He wanted to go to Tampa Bay because he wanted to be close to home, and now he's a free agent, and the Rays didn't re-sign him, so will he sign with another team outside of Florida? Yet to be seen still, though. I think he's A tier. Okay, here's our first D tier. Chase Anderson is just not good. I think Toronto Blue Jays fans can vouch. He had a pretty horrible season. He had 1 year pretty much with the Brewers and hasn't done anything since. We gotta throw him in D tier. Oh, Chris Archer. I gotta put Chris Archer in D tier too right now. And this is weird because I think Chris Archer could get his way into B easily with the right pitching coach and the right people around him. Chris Archer could be a very successful pitcher in baseball. But based on what we've seen in Pittsburgh recently, he's been horrible. He's been terrible. And maybe I'm overvaluing because of how good Meadows and Glasnow and Chaz Rowe are gonna be. Maybe he deserves to be in C, but I'm gonna put him in D because he's not performed well recently. And he's had some injury issues too. See, now Corey Kluber, I want to put in A, but he's coming off an injury and it's so tough. Like, he's got the potential to be S, obviously. He hasn't really pitched great in a while. I'll put him in B. Coming off the injury, coming off a bit of a like down year the year before. Corey Kluber's still got obviously great stuff and can be a Cy Young caliber pitcher, but we haven't seen it in a while. So from what we've seen recently, I got to put him in B. Darren O'Day. I think Darren O'Day is B. I think Darren O'Day is a really good reliever, especially for like that herky-jerky submarine type stuff. Now, if you figure this guy out, you're going to figure him out pretty well. But the deception, the submarine, he's got a lot of movement to his pitches. A team's going to sign him. He's going to be a really good middle reliever for someone in Major League Baseball. Anthony Descalfane, I want to put him in B, but he just hasn't been performing well recently. So I'm going to put Tony Disco in C, but again, another one of these guys who has the potential to move up. Unlike hitters, I think pitchers have the most chance for growth, switching teams, getting in a new environment, and I think Tony Disco could be that guy, but based on what we've seen, I got to put him in C. Garrett Richards as well, I think is going to be C, which also now makes me rethink putting Anibal Sanchez in D. Garrett Richards is going to be C, a guy who's had some arm issues in the past, had a pretty decent year with San Diego, but still hasn't been that guy guy that's going to be the front end of your rotation. He's a back end of rotation guy right now. Rich Hill just keeps doing it. He's like 100 years old and he keeps pitching well. I have to put him in B tier. He just like he had a 3 ERA last year. He will be a back end guy and he's going to pitch about 5 innings at most, but he's got the crafty lefty stuff. He's a veteran and he just kind of performs well. You don't know why, you scratch your head, but he does it. So give him B tier. I'd love to put Gio above C, but I think right now Gio is going to be C tier. Again, back end of the rotation kind of guy. If you get him in the right place, you can get maybe frontline stuff, maybe a number 3 starter, but right now where Gio's been in the last couple seasons, he's really just a middle of the rotation back end kind of guy. Cole Hamels, I'm going to put in B. Obviously, once he left Texas, he started performing a lot better. He had a good little season with the Cubs. Last year, missed a lot of time with the Braves due to injury. I think if he is healthy and comes back, he can be a really solid left-handed starting pitcher for a team in baseball. So I think with the stuff that he's got, it works well. He's not going to ever overpower you, but that changeup's filthy. Put him in B tier. Homer Bailey is going to go in C tier. He's always struggled with injuries, and he only made like 2 appearances in 2020, so we didn't get a lot to see, but based on in the past, he's been an average pitcher, like a 4 or 5 ERA, 5 ERA kind of guy. He's not horrible because when he is on the mound, he can get some production, but his biggest issue is always health. Yvonne Nova, D tier. Yvonne Nova is not very good. There's nothing really to get excited about him. He is a back end depth piece. You don't really want this guy being one of your main starters because if that's the case, you are in trouble. All right, Yankees fans, hear me out. Despite everything, you hate J-Happ. He's had a decent year last year. He's just not meant to play in Yankee Stadium. I think J-Happ's a B tier starting pitcher. He can eat innings. He's a good, reliable left-handed pitcher. He's not going to be an ace. He's not going to win Cy Youngs, but he can go out there every 5 days and at least give you a chance to win. I just think Yankee Stadium and the Yankees was not the right fit for him. Get him somewhere low-key in a very low-pressure situation. I think J-Happ can be really good. I also think Jake Arrieta is going to be B tier. I know he hasn't performed well the last few years, but with the starting pitching that's on the market, this is how I'm thinking of it. Like S, you gotta have him. A, really good, you should have him. B are the kind of guys that teams who are just looking for maybe that missing piece can grab somebody, and Jake Arrieta might be one of those missing pieces for a team who needs that extra starting pitcher, who needs another guy who can go out there and perform at a high level. He's pitched in the World Series. He's won a Cy Young. He has been good in the past, just needs to find it again. I think I'm also going to put Jake Odorizzi in the B tier because he's just kind of boring to me. His production has never been particularly great. Like, he's a 4 ERA guy, but he is consistent. You know what you're getting at Jake Odorizzi, and I think that does have value. Teams are going to want him. He's going to be a hot buy, and you're not going to have to pay him too much, so I'll put him in B tier. Jeff Samarja is D tier. Jeff Samarja has been horrible. Wow. Really bad. Like, in 2019, he had a decent year, but then he's just been so inconsistent. I'm going to put Jeff Samarja in D. Like, this is just going to be a classic. If the Mets had old ownership, sign Jeff Samarja, pay him way too much, and he'd stink. Call me crazy, but I'm going to put Joaquin Soria in the A tier. He's a veteran reliever. He's not going to be your setup. He's not going to be your closer, but for middle relief, you might not be able to find a better arm for middle relief on the market right now than Joaquin Soria, or Joaquin Soria. I don't even know how to say it. Joaquin. Success! Okay, it's Joaquin. My bad. I don't know why I called him Joaquin. But Joaquin Soria, he's good. He's really good. Really underrated. Quiet, because he played in Oakland. John Lester is, unfortunately, I think, going to go in C tier. He looks like he's a bit over the edge here. Maybe he goes back to Boston on a really cheap contract. He can get some innings for you, but he is no longer that big game pitcher that he once was. Jordan Zimmerman, D tier. I mean, do we really need to talk about this guy? The Tigers paid him a ton of money after pitching well in Washington, and he's been horrible every year in Detroit. So D tier. I don't know what his market looks like. Jose Alvarez is a pretty decent little left-handed reliever. He's got some good stuff. He was one of the few guys for the Phillies last year who didn't have an ERA that was like 10. So Jose Alvarez, left-handed relievers, has some value. He can also get out a right-handed batter. That's huge now with the 3-batter minimum rule. Gotta put him in B tier. I think teams, this is a guy you should look at. Now, Ken Giles, I believe, is coming back off of Tommy John surgery. If he's obviously fully healthy, I would put Ken Giles in A tier because he just has that kind of stuff. He was great in Toronto when he was healthy. Got hurt, wasn't great. A bit of a head case, but if you can get him under control and get him focused, ooh, he's got electric stuff. I'm also gonna throw Kirby Yates in A tier. Kirby Yates, again, coming off an injury. Not a great year in San Diego. Don't really know what happened there, but the 2 prior years, the guy was lights out and it was in the conversation for one of the best relievers in baseball. I can't forget that version of Kirby Yates. I can forget the 2020 version because of all the crazy circumstances. A tier, Kirby Yates. Liam Hendrix. Liam Hendrix goes into S tier. Now, that guy's been absolutely disgusting, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He just absolutely shoves reliever of the year. He has an ERA hovering around 1. Absolutely filthy. The man down under goes all the way to the top at S tier. I want the Mets to sign. Ooh, Mark Malanson. I think Mark Malanson, see, like, if you use him in middle relief or not as a closer, he's probably like A tier value there, but if you're gonna use him as a closer, he's like a B tier guy just because he doesn't have the greatest stuff in the world, but another guy who got the job done. Like, struck out a shockingly low amount of batters last year, but had an ERA under 3. It's pretty good in my books. Put him in B. Martin Perez. Martin Perez is gonna go into C, but that being said, he actually didn't have as bad of a year as it was led on. If you look at his ERA and other numbers, he had like a 3 ERA going into his last couple starts, and then he blew up those last couple starts, which jacked it up. But you're gonna get a back-end guy, left-handed arm who can give you some innings. Martin Perez is pretty solid. He gives you a chance to win some games. I'm also gonna put Masairo Tanaka in B, but towards the top end of B because he's close to A. He has A potential stuff. It's just, it depends what kind of Tanaka are you seeing. Are you getting Tanaka whose splitter isn't on, who's walking a lot of guys? Or are you getting Tanaka who's like the playoff Tanaka outside of 2020 where he's absolutely disgusting? I'm gonna put him in high B tier. He has the potential to be an A, but just not there right now. Matt Shoemaker, I'm gonna put Matt Shoemaker in C. I'm a believer in Matt Shoemaker. I'm happy that he pretty much had a healthy season in 2020. That's all I want for this guy. He had so many injuries. He's battling through them. I think he can be a really good pickup for somebody, and if you get him with the right pitcher, figure out some of his mechanics a little bit, I think he can go into a B tier type pitcher, but right now, C. Mike Fiers, D tier. I don't think I really need to say more. Like, congratulations, you broke the Astros. You were the rat who gave out the cheating thing. Like, good for you there. You've done some other things in your past that are a bit shady, and as a starting pitcher, I just don't see the, like, reason why teams keep signing you. He's just not particularly good in my eyes. I don't know. I'm gonna put Mike Fiers in D tier. Like, I just don't ever go like, oh, I'm going up against Mike Fiers. I'm in trouble. Let me tell you something about Mike Leake. Mike Leake might be the definition of the most average pitcher in baseball. 4 ERA, pitches 5 or 6 innings every single game, doesn't strike out a lot of guys, like strikes out like 6 a game. He's just the definition of the most average pitcher, I think, in baseball. He has to go in C tier. Mike Minor is gonna be B tier for me. I can't forget the seasons that he had with Texas where he was a really good starting pitcher and very effective left-handed. Went to Oakland, went to Texas, didn't have a good season in 2020, but again, 2020, especially with pitchers, I think you got to take with a grain of salt, so I'll put him in B. He's still got some good stuff and is going to have value somewhere. Speaking of taking things with a grain of salt, like James Paxton, I think I got to put him in A. We saw what Big Maple was like in Seattle, and we saw bits and pieces of it with the New York Yankees. Just something didn't click, and it didn't come together as the full package, but he has good stuff. Big left-handed guy who throws gas and has good stuff. I got to give James Paxton an A, which is maybe a little shocking to some people, but I think if you get him, like Toronto Blue Jays, circle him on your list, you should grab James Paxton. Bring Big Maple home. Pedro Baez, I'm going to put in B tier. Really good middle reliever. Very solid. Not the most elite stuff, and he does sometimes have a walk issue, but he's been a pretty good reliever for the Dodgers in the past, and I think a team could definitely use him. Like, that's a good arm that you could have in your bullpen. Jose Quintana, this one pains me, but he's just like average now. He was not great with the Cubs. He was great with the White Sox, but even then, not as good as I feel like people remember him as. He's kind of just always been a fairly average pitcher with some little sprinkles in of being above average. Rick Porcello, I hate to do it, Jersey kid, Mets fan growing up. Like, he was so excited to play for the Mets, but man, did he stink in 2020. Wasn't great the year before. It hasn't really been good since he won the Cy Young, which seems like a fluke. Gonna put Rick Porcello in D tier. This one's tough. Okay, Roberto Osuna, as we know, garbage person. Coming back from Tommy John, so he's not gonna pitch in 2021 from what it looks like, but talent-wise, S tier. He's one of the best closers in the game when he's healthy. He has great stuff. The Astros just aren't re-signing him because, one, I think there's a character issue there, and two, he's not gonna pitch in 2021, so why would you pay the guy? Yeah, Osuna's S tier if he's fully healthy. As a person, F tier, but, you know, as talent-wise, S. Sean Doolittle, I think Sean Doolittle is also B tier. He's a really good left-handed reliever. I know he's had some issues in the past. He hasn't performed that well, and 2020 wasn't necessarily his year, but if you look at the numbers from previous years, he's been very good. He's been one of the quieter, better left-handed relievers in baseball. Doesn't have the nastiest stuff, but continues to put up good numbers. I like Doolittle a lot. I think he's a B tier. For Sergio Romo, I think I'm gonna put Sergio Romo in C tier. He's good, but I'll put him towards the top. He's close to B. I don't know. He's got the experience. I just don't know if he has the stuff anymore, and he is getting up there a little bit in age. Shane Green, I think, is actually really good. I'm gonna put him in B tier as well, and I'm starting to realize that B tier is more of the average tier and C is like below average, so take what you want from it. But Shane Green's a really good back-end reliever. He's been a good setup man. He could possibly be a closer for a team. He's kind of gotten rid of like that good year, bad year streak, so I think Shane Green has value. So Taijuan Walker's gonna go in C tier for me, but Taijuan Walker has the chance to go high. I'm talking B, A tier maybe. He was finally healthy this year, and in Toronto, he looked pretty good. In Seattle, he had some decent stuff. He's got good stuff. He's a pitcher that I think a lot of teams are gonna want to work with, and see if they can get that like top prospect stuff that they once saw out of him. He's still fairly young. He's not giving up hope, but based on performance that we've seen in the injury history, I have to give him a C. Tommy Kahnle, I believe, got Tommy John as well, and it's gonna be tough for him to come back. He's got plus stuff, throws absolute ched, like he's filthy. I think I'll put him in B tier. I gotta see what he's like coming back from Tommy John. That is gonna be a big question mark, but based on what we have seen, he has good stuff, can perform at a high level, and pitch in some high leverage situations. Down to the final two. Trevor Bauer is clearly going in S tier. I think it's safe to say that he is the only elite starting pitcher on the market in the 2021 offseason. Just won the National League Cy Young, so congrats, Trevor. First YouTuber, I saw Fuzzy tweet that, first YouTuber to win a Cy Young. That was a good tweet. Trevor Bauer, though, clearly the best pitcher on the market, the best starting pitcher on the market, possibly the best free agent on the market. Just coming off the Cy Young award, filthy. He wants to be a winner. He's got the attitude. He's got the look. Trevor Bauer's so good, S tier. And then last but not least, Trevor May. I'm gonna put Trevor May in B tier as well, which now makes B tier the most populated list, or tier, I should say. Trevor May's a good little closer setup kind of guy. I don't necessarily know if he's my pick to be my closer, but on a team that needs one, he can do that. Otherwise, if you're a team, let's say like the Yankees or the Dodgers, Rogers or somebody who's got a strong bullpen, he would be a great 7th inning guy, maybe even 8th. He's got good stuff. The strikeouts were up. I just don't think he's a closer. So I'll put him in B, which now makes me think that Joakim Soria in A is a little crazy, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to give Joakim Soria A. Why not? This is my list. A few in S, a few in A, a lot in B and C, and a few in D. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with my tier list? What did I get right or wrong? Remember to drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, as well as subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the content. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Twitch, second channel, Instagram, all that stuff. Links are in the description, as well as a link to the tier list. And shout out to Yang Pinstripes again. Thank you all for watching. You know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Rage and predictions are coming soon, I promise. Bye!